Okay, maybe I wasn't talking loud. Make an official start. Sandy, is it on?
Yes, it's on.
Okay, are you recording?
Yes.
Would you start us off, Sandy, please?
Sure.
And I lost. Adonai, our God, please make pleasant the words of your Torah in our mouths and in the mouths of your people Israel. And may we and our descendants and the descendants of your people, the house of Israel, all be perceivers of your name and students of your Torah for its sake. Blessed are you, Adonai, who teaches Torah to the people of Israel and to the Gentiles. Otherwise, I would have been left out, and I wouldn't like that at all. A little introduction, if I may. We are in the book of Deuteronomy, Devarim, and we're coming to a break, if you will. It's a division, and it separates the general stipulations of the contract from the specific stipulations of the contract. In other words, we have the general provisions, the Ten Commandments and the Shema, and a recap of the events surrounding the giving of the Torah at Mount Sinai, and the specific provisions of the law with special emphasis on how they are to be carried out by the people as a whole in the land of Israel. And it's a border. It separates the two. And it almost looks like the Lord put that in there to make sure you separated the two of them, because the first is a little bit general. Nothing special and specific, but the latter part is very specific in many instances. The first half, I don't know exactly how many times the expression today or this day is utilized in chapters 1 through 11. I do know that it was used 54 times in the book of Devarim. Moses used it 54 times this day, today. When we look at Exodus, Leviticus, and Numbers, we see expressions like, and the Lord told Moses to tell Aaron, or the Lord told Moses to tell the children of Israel, and then he would specifically state what he wanted, and Moses would say what the Lord wanted him to say. But in the book of Deuteronomy, that doesn't happen. It says, Moses spoke to the people of Israel. Moses said this. But I'm going to ask this question. Who told Moses to write the book of Deuteronomy? I believe the Lord told him to do it. I believe that the Lord told Moses what to say. In fact, I can prove that. If you go back to Deuteronomy chapter 1, verse 1, it says this, these are the words which Moses spake unto Israel on, that's the east side of the Jordan in the wilderness. And skipping a little bit, going down to verse 3, Moses spake unto the children of Israel according to all that the Lord had given him in commandment unto them. He spoke to them what the Lord told him to tell them. So when Moses says something in Deuteronomy, do this, do that, or do that, he is conveying what the Lord wants him to say. So the Lord is saying, in some respects, Moses, you tell the people of Israel this. Then when you write it down so that they remember it and have it, that anyone who reads this, it'll be for them also. So there are some places in there that are pretty interesting about this day. Chapter 4, verse 3 and 4. When you saw with your own eyes that what Adonai did at Baal Peor, that Adonai destroyed from among your midst all the men who followed Baal Peor. But you, who stuck with Adonai, your God, are still alive today. Every one of you. That gets pretty personal, I think. I mean, it gets right here. I'm still alive today, and I didn't mess around with Baal Peor, and I try to keep that kind of thing out of my life. And I'm still alive here today. Chapter 4, verse 20. But you, Adonai, has taken and brought out of the melting furnace, out of Egypt, to be a people of inheritance for him, as you are today. You're a people of inheritance for him today. That's a pretty interesting promise. Know today and establish in your heart that Adonai is God in heaven above and on earth below. There is no other. Therefore, you are to keep his statutes and rulings, which I am giving you today, so that it will go well with you and with your children after you, so that you will prolong your days in the land Adonai, your God, is giving you forever. He's given us things. He's provided us things on a daily basis. The house that you live in, the breath that you, air that you breathe, the food that you eat, the water that you drink, the words that you read, the word that touches your heart. Deuteronomy 5. Moses called all Israel and said to them, Hear, O Israel, the statutes and the ordinances that I am speaking in your hearing today. Learn them and make sure to do them. Adonai our God cut a covenant with us in Horeb, not with our fathers has Adonai cut this covenant, but with us, all of us alive here today. Aren't we under a covenant that was cut by him, and we're alive here today? Moses is speaking to us. Now, between the two sections, this first section, general things, we're talking about following rules and regulations and doing what God wants us to do, and not doing things. And then we have this special thing. It's almost like somebody wrote something and stuck it in there because it's a little bit different. It's a place where you could say, hey, stop and look at this. It's different. So, if we may, would someone please start reading at Deuteronomy 11:26.
Behold, I set before you today a blessing and a curse. The blessing if you obey the commandments of the Lord your God, which I command you today, and the curse if you do not obey the commandments of the Lord your God, but turn aside from the way which I command you to go after other gods which you have not known. Now it shall be, when the Lord your God has brought you into the land which you go to possess, that you shall put the blessing on Mount
Gerizim,
and the curse on Mount Ebal. Are there not on the other side of the Jordan? Therefore, the setting sun in the land of the Canaanites, who dwell in the plain opposite Gilgal, beside the terebinth tree of Moreh. For you will cross over the Jordan and go in to possess the land which the Lord your God is giving you, and you will possess it and dwell in it. And you shall be careful to observe all the statutes and judgments which I set before you today.
thank you. We'll stop there for a minute. Did you hear what's in there? Sort of a reiteration of all the things that went through chapters 1 through chapters 11, the general provisions. Follow my instructions, follow my words. So it ties itself a little bit to the first 11 chapters. It also contains a promise. Did you read it? Aren't those places that you're going on the other side of the Jordan? You're going to cross over the Jordan. You're going to get to the promised land. How many times would they, in this wilderness journey, were they promised that they were going to get to the promised land? Again and again and again. And here Moses is reiterating that promise again. And then they finish this with, make sure that you do everything that you're supposed to do. Now, while we're here, we're talking about Mount Gerizim and Mount Ebal. And there's a curse on one, and there's blessings on the other. And we can go read in Leviticus 26, I believe it is, or is it 23? Maybe it's 23. And Deuteronomy 28. And we can read all the blessings and curses. Josh talked about the blessings and curses last Shabbat. And he talked about the ones that were in Deuteronomy, and he said that there was at least 2 verses, maybe 3 verses of curses for every verse of blessings. If you go to Leviticus and do the same thing, it is 1 verse of blessing versus 2 verses of curses. And then we can go into Joshua and we can read the actual blessings and curses that were done on Mount Gerizim and Mount Ebal. And we can find out which tribes were on which mountain. And that leaves a question. One of the tribes was not on the mountains. That was the tribe of Levi. Where was the tribe of Levi? They were down in the valley. They were the ones that were pronouncing the blessings and the curses, and the people on the mountains were saying amen and agreeing to them. The thought came to me, the Levites, they were down in the valley. They were the ones that were talking. What else was down in the valley? Pardon?
The river.
Okay. Anything else? How about a road from the east to the west? A trade route, if you will? What else was in that valley? I didn't know either. My daughter, who's a pastor in San Diego, and I were on a phone conversation, and I mentioned we were going to talk about which is what we're reading today. And she says, oh yeah, here's something you ought to think about. Shechem.
Right. Yeah.
Shechem is in the valley.
And that's where they put the Ark of the Covenant.
And Jacob's well? And before we go and say a little more about that, we got Gerizim is on the south side of the valley, and it has good vegetation on it. Ebal, which is basically rocky and empty of vegetation, except for cactus, is on the north side. And they built an altar on the north side, on Ebal, where the stones were. And I've got a whole bunch of things that I found out about Shechem. It's interesting. What did Levi and Simeon do in Shechem? They raided, killed all the men, killed everybody, slaughtered animals, cut the Achilles tendon of cattle, did a horrible thing. Their father said, what you did there made people think I stink. In other words, hate him. What else was there? Joseph went to see his brothers near Shechem. And what else? The two wells were there.
The two what?
Two wells.
Oh, yeah.
I forgot what the name begins with a D. What else? There's other things that happen in Shechem. Oh. Jacob came by Shechem and he buried some strange gods, some family gods that his wives and children had brought out of Haran when they came back from Laban by a tree. Just a whole bunch of things that happened in Shechem. And one more thing. What happened in Shechem in the New Testament?
The woman at the well?
Woman at the well, absolutely right. And she had a discussion with Jesus, with Yeshua, and talked about where the Samaritans worshipped. And he told where they're going to worship in truth, and it wouldn't be on either mountain. And that woman was a missionary to the Samaritans. So Shechem is quite an interesting place.
And didn't they put the Ark of the Covenant in Shechem when they were done fighting and hauling it around?
You mean in Judges somewhere?
Yeah.
I believe so, yes.
Yeah. I think that a couple years ago, an archaeologist made a big splash claiming that he had found the very spot in Shechem where the Ark of the Covenant was laid to rest. Not the Ark, but where, the pedestal that they had it sitting on.
I haven't read that one, but thank you very much. And it is now called Nablus. It changed its name from Shechem to Nablus. So when you read things in the paper about Nablus, that's Shechem. That's where all these things happened. Joseph's well was there. Joseph had all kinds of things. There is one other thing. This little 7 or 8 verses tells us. If we read it very, very careful, it says this, that Torah is not a curse. When you read it very carefully, it says the fact that the curses come from not obeying Torah, and the blessings come from obeying Torah. And it's still our choice. So we need to choose wisely. So now in chapter 12, that's the start of this second half. Very specific things.
In Deuteronomy?
In-
Where are we? Yeah, chapter 12, Deuteronomy?
Yes.
These are the statutes and judgments which ye shall observe to do in in the land which the Lord God of thy fathers giveth thee to possess it all the days that you live upon the earth. Ye shall utterly destroy all the places wherein the nations which ye shall possess serve their gods upon the high mountains and upon the hills and under every green tree. And ye shall overthrow their altars and break their pillars and burn their groves with fire, and ye shall hew down the graven images of their gods and destroy the names of them out of that place. Pass.
You are not to act like this toward Adonai your God. Rather, you are to seek only the place Adonai your God chooses from the other tribes to put his name to dwell. There you will come. There you are to bring your burnt offerings and your sacrifices, your tithes and offerings of your hands, your vow and freewill offerings, and the firstborn of your herd and of your flock. There you and your household will eat before Adonai your God, and rejoice in every undertaking of your hand, as Adonai your God has blessed you. You will not do all things as we are doing here today, everyone doing what is right in his own eyes. For you have not yet come to the resting place and the inheritance that Adonai your God is giving you. Verse 10.
Okay, did you notice one of the things that's mentioned here? The place. So, up to this point in time, wherever the camp was, that's where they did all their worship. Now the worship is going to be done in the place. Very specific. A change from wilderness to city dweller, if you want to put it that way. There's a very special place, and there's going to be very special ways to do things at that place. This is now becoming very specific as to how they are supposed to conduct themselves. So in essence, the first thing that they have to do is they have to cross the Jordan. The second place is they have to conquer the land. Then they have to settle. That takes 14 years. And then after the 14 years, they get a little bit of rest.
It took 14 years?
Yes,
But then they still weren't done, right?
that's right. They weren't quite finished. Who was it?
Supposed to take 14 years?
No, I don't know how long it was supposed to take, but 14 years before they rested, but they hadn't finished everything. They were told not to make any agreements with any of the inhabitants, but one did. They got tricked into making an agreement with somebody, and they stuck around. And they did other things that they were told not to do. Like, who's the guy that caused all the trouble? Achan. Oh, my Achan back. Achan. Well, he caused a lot of Israelites to get killed because he took some of the plunder and put it in his tent. And I guess the question is, and I thought about this, and I've thrown some things away in the past, and even here recently, because I really shouldn't have had that in the house. I haven't touched that particular item for 15 or 20 years. But it's in a drawer, so I threw it away. Because of Achan. Because he did something he wasn't supposed to do. And it didn't cause him so much trouble. It caused other people trouble. So if I've got something in a drawer and somebody comes to my house and somehow they find it, they say, oh, he's not who he's supposed to be. And then my testimony isn't as good as it should be. So, just little things. You go to a bank and they give you a pen to sign something, and you stick it in your pocket. I cheat. I got a pen in my pocket. I don't need to borrow somebody's pen to sign something because I've got it. I don't ever want to take a chance of grabbing that pen and just stick it in my pocket because I'm stealing. So I protect myself.
They give them to you.
I know they do.
They say, take that pen, it's advertisement.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. And in the little things that they send the things back and forth, there's always a pen in there. Once in a while, there's a piece of candy even.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. You got to deal with Chase. Okay, let's continue.
But when you cross over the Jordan and settle in the land that Adonai your God enables you to inherit, and he gives you rest from all your enemies around you, you will dwell in safety. Then the place Adonai your God chooses to make his name dwell, there you are to bring all that I command you, your burnt offerings and your sacrifices, your tithes, the offering of your hand, and all your finest vow offerings that you vow to Adonai. Then you will rejoice before Adonai your God, and you and your sons and daughters, your slaves and maids, the Levites in your towns, for he has no portion or inheritance among you. Be careful that you do not offer your burnt offerings in any place you see. Rather do so only in the place Adonai chooses, in the one of your tribes. There you are to offer your burnt offerings, and you are to do all I am commanding you. 15. What verse? Verse 15.
Oh, before we go on, a thought just came to me that I was going to mention. Another thing about Shechem. Shechem turned out to be a city of refuge.
Sanctuary?
The sanctuary city.
Sanctuary city. One of the three that's on the west side of the Jordan. That there's three on the east side of the Jordan, and one of the three on the east side of the Jordan is the Golan Heights. And we hear about well, not so much anymore, but we used to hear about the Golan Heights many years ago. That's a mountain where they look down into the land of Israel. The Syrians look down in the land of Israel to find out where they're going to shoot. It's a high point. But Golan used to be a city of refuge. And so is the city that's in the valley between the two mountains. Okay, pardon me for interrupting.
What verse? Verse 15.
15.
However, you may sacrifice and eat meat within any of your gates, whatever you desire according to the blessing of Adonai your God, which he has given you. The unclean and the clean may eat of it, as of the gazelle and the deer. Only you shall not eat the blood. You are to pour it out on the ground like water. You are not allowed to eat within your gates the tithe of your grain or new wine or oil, or the firstborn of your herd or flock, or any of your votive offerings which you vow, or your free will offerings, or the contribution of your hand. But you shall eat them before Adonai your God, in the place which Adonai your God will choose, you and your son and daughter, and your male and female slaves, and the Levite who was within your gates. And you shall be glad before Adonai your God, and all that you set forth your hand to do. Beware lest you forsake the Levite all your days upon the land.
When the Lord thy God shall enlarge thy border, as he hath promised thee, and thou shalt say, I will eat flesh, because my soul longeth to eat flesh. Thou mayest eat flesh whatsoever thy soul lusteth after, place which the Lord thy God hath chosen to put his name, there be too far from thee, then thou shalt kill of thy herd and of thy flock, which the Lord hath given thee, and as I have commanded thee, and thou shalt eat in thy gates whatsoever thy soul lusteth after. Even as the roebuck in the hart is eaten, so thou shalt eat them, unclean and the clean, shall they eat them alike. Verse 23.
Only be sure that you do not eat the blood, for the blood is the life. You are not to eat the life with the meat. You are not to eat it. You are to pour it out on the ground like water. You are not to eat it so that it may go well with you and your children after you, when you do what is right in Adonai's eyes. Verse 26.
But take your consecrated things and whatever you have vowed to give, and go to the place the Lord will choose. Present your burnt offerings on the altar of the Lord your God, both the meat and the blood. The blood of your sacrifices must be poured beside the altar of the Lord your God, but you may eat the meat. Be careful to obey all these regulations I am giving you, so that it may always go well with you and your children after you, because you will be doing what is good and right in the eyes of the Lord. The Lord your God will cut off before you the nations you are about to invade and dispossess. But when you have driven them out and settled in their land, and after they have been destroyed before you, be careful not to be ensnared by inquiring about their gods, saying, how do these nations serve their gods? We will do the same. You must not worship the Lord your God in their way, because in worshiping their gods, they do all kinds of detestable things the Lord hates. They even burn their sons and daughters in the fire as sacrifices to their gods. See that you do all I command you. Do not add to it or take away from it. And I have a question. I'm kind of confused about what he's telling them. Is it true that he doesn't specify where he wants them to sacrifice, just the way of doing it? And yet, if you're too far away, you don't have to go wherever it is that I choose. You may do it in your own hometown. Am I reading that right?
Yes and no.
Yeah, see? I'm confused.
Well, that's better than saying no. It's better than saying yes. It's yes or no. The things that are sacrificed, the Levitical things, that is to be done in the place where God chooses it to be done. However, to eat, you can do it in your own gates if you do it properly, in your own hometown. So you don't.
I know, didn't they use Shechem for a while as the place to go and do their vows of sacrifice and gifts and?
That's later on during David's time.
Oh, okay, all right.
But
Soon.
the place that he's talking about here in all reality is Jerusalem.
Yeah.
That's the place where everything is.
We don't have Jerusalem yet.
I know.
That doesn't
They're
happen
still
until
in
after.
essence, they're still traveling. So there's still a little gap between
Yeah,
doing
so
it
where-
anywhere and only doing it in a certain place.
So where are they supposed to do it in the meantime? He never does tell them.
Shiloh.
Well,
Shiloh?
Shiloh at one point in time, Shechem
It
at one
doesn't
point
say
in
that.
time.
It doesn't say Shiloh.
That comes later. I'm sorry. This is a transition type thing.
Right.
As they go, they become a city dweller.
Well, it says right here, take heed to yourselves that you do not offer your burnt offering in every place that you see, but in the place which the Lord chooses. So
But he doesn't.
he chooses their places for them.
Okay. Thank you. He chooses the place. So to answer your question,
Each place.
wherever he
place.
tells you to do it, do it.
So who is he going to tell?
Moses,
No,
Joshua,
Moses- No, because Moses.
Joshua.
cannot go okay, Joshua.
and later, the judges.
Yeah.
Does that make sense now?
Okay.
No, and I know it doesn't.
Yeah. Basically, what you're saying is that each town is taken over and cleaned up, and they do everything God says to do, that Joshua will tell them where they can do their sacrifice.
Yes.
In that town.
Yes. And who will tell Joshua?
God.
Right.
Okay, so, thank you.
There's that chain of command.
Yeah, chain of command. Now, did you catch verse 32
Yeah.
or 13:1 as the case may be?
No, 30.
Whatever I command you, you must take care to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You are not to add to it or take away from it.
That's like in Revelation, same
Yes.
thing. Do not add, do not take away.
Well, that's the second time.
People do it all the time.
Moses said it once, the Lord said it once, and then it says it another time in Revelation, and Yeshua also said it at least once.
Yep.
Now,
So blessed now to have a personal relationship.
When you think about it, in Luke, you have the Messiah saying, not just the blessings, but he does the woes and lists those. It's a long list.
yes, it is. So that takes care of chapter 12. Chapter 13 is about idolatry and false prophets. And we're going to run into an awful lot of that. I'm serious. We're going to run into an awful lot of that. We can listen to the radio and we can listen to television and we can stand on the street corner and hear it. So we've got to be careful. What's the best way to avoid getting hooked by false prophets? Know the truth. Where do you find the truth? The Word of God. Can you find the truth anyplace else? Really?
Okay, I'm gonna say yes.
I've heard a couple of people this morning already speak the word of truth, and it's in here. So there are people who speak the word of truth. How do you know they're speaking the word of truth?
You gotta know it.
You compare it against what you know.
Somebody told me once to run it through the Bible, not to try to run the Bible through what someone else said. Run theirs through here.
Run it through it and not buy it. Run it through it.
That's why when they say vote according to this.
But you can tell when people are telling the truth and when they're not. And what is supposed to happen to false prophets? Oh, chapter 13, verse 6.
Yeah. Get stoned.
If,
Pile of rocks.
wouldn't it be interesting to do that today?
Sure would cure a lot of people of things.
I would think so. I would think so.
Remember too that in Joel and Acts and all those and the Holy Spirit dispenses gifts of prophecy, so that's still got to be taken into account.
Hmm.
That it isn't over.
So we're supposed to be very careful of false prophets. And let's see what happens. What's the difference between holy and profane?
Pure and unclean.
Fit and unfit to be in the presence of God?
Sliding scale of how Joshua used to, the rabbi mentioned it was fit or unfit, and it's a sliding scale you drop. You become more fit or less fit according to your actions.
Okay. But then again, there's a place in the Bible that says when you mess around with, when you break one, you broke them all. So on a sliding scale. Where are you going to be on that scale when Jesus comes back?
But that's where grace comes in.
Pardon?
That's where grace comes in.
Sinners saved by grace, for sure.
That's right, sinners saved by grace.
Because we can't be perfect.
You can't be perfect, but
You have a question? Jesus said, he who's taken a bath doesn't need to do anything else, and you are already clean because of the word which I have spoken to you. Because of the word.
yes, I remember hearing that somewhere or reading it. And that had to deal with the washing of the feet. And he said it to Peter. And Peter says, wash all of me. And Jesus says, I don't need to wash all of you. And the reference to washing feet in the Old Testament, in the Jewish tradition, the feet had played a very important part in everything. Abraham was told, wherever you walk, that's yours. Moses was taught about the same thing. And several of the patriarchs were told, wherever you put your feet. Caleb got to choose where he walked when the promised land was divided amongst the tribes. Caleb picked a place where he walked, and he walked on Hebron.
And then Peter even talks about the dust of the feet. If you enter a house and they don't listen to your words, when you leave, shake the dust off your feet.
And then there's the story of Ruth and what happened there. The one nearest relative to Ruth didn't want her. So what happened? His shoe was taken away so he couldn't walk on the land to possess it later. It was a sign that he gave up the land that Ruth owned. So where the foot is, that's important. It gives you the land that you live on because you walk on it. And your feet get washed by
And when
Yeshua.
Ruth uncovered Boaz's feet and laid down at his feet.
Yes, yes, I remember that too.
You know, archaeologists found some odd marks in the ground, and I don't think it was in Israel. I think it must have been in Jordan. And later, in reading these sections, they realized that it was the people's feet, because God had promised them that where they put their feet was going to be theirs. And they had made this circle in the ground and trampled this track that still exists today, that was done, 1,000 years ago. And I thought that was kind of interesting, that feet, the feet on the ground is proclaiming ownership
Yes.
of that place.
Okay, let's see. We're not,
I have another question, please.
okay,
In this section where we're reading all about all the festivals that God has commanded that they're supposed to do, and he also tells them how to do it, when we were going through Leviticus and all of that earlier this morning. And right now in the news, they're talking a lot about the preparations for building the temple, the new temple in Jerusalem. And of course, Messianic Jews know that we don't need a temple to worship God, that each of us is the temple of God. But my question is, why would they, it's someday we're all, when Jesus comes again, we're all going to be doing these festivals that God has commanded according to the calendar in heaven, which is on a solar calendar. And it's gonna be different than what the Pharisees established, because they were on a lunar calendar. So, to me, it's like a whole jumble of how is, God's gonna come and tell us what to do, right? Never mind.
Oh my.
Let's see. I can't answer that with complete,
You can, it's just
complete authority, but this much I can say. Jesus told his disciples that he wasn't going to celebrate Passover until they celebrated anew in heaven.
yes,
So he is going to celebrate Passover,
yes.
maybe in the form of the marriage supper of the Lamb. But in any case, he's going to celebrate a portion of Passover. Okay? In Zechariah 14, it says that once a year on Sukkot, Sukkot, the countries that survive are going to come to Jerusalem. If they don't, it won't rain in their land. So there's two celebrations that we're going to celebrate. Passover and Sukkot. For sure.
And that one is festival of,
We won't need to celebrate Shavuot, I don't believe, because they'll all be taken care of in the past when we're in the future. That's the best I can answer that question. Some will celebrate, some we won't need to celebrate, because they won't be applicable anymore. How would celebrating unleavened bread be?
it'll all the prophecies will be fulfilled by that time.
Yes.
It will be interesting.
Of course it will. It'll be much more interesting than any of us can ever believe. Well, it does, the last chapter, 16, it does talk about Passover and what we're supposed to do in the Feast of Weeks. And there is one thing that I'd like to remind you of when it comes to the feasts that we're going to celebrate. The one that always comes to mind is that when you read the descriptions of what is supposed to happen, there is one word there that is seen in virtually all of them. That word is rejoice. Rejoice. We celebrate Passover. Rejoice. That's where Israel became a nation, because of the Passover. Rejoice. That's where Jesus set up a new covenant or a renewed covenant for us. Rejoice. That is spectacular. One of the things that I feel, and a couple of people I know feel this, that the most spectacular miracle that ever happens is our salvation, our coming to God. That's a miracle. And it's the most spectacular miracle that you and I will ever experience. And to that music, yes, to get our attention, our belief in Yeshua and his Father and what he did for us. And that miracle is a miracle beyond belief. It's beyond words. I've heard people talk about it. Sometimes it comes as an instantaneous thing, and it happens. Other people, it doesn't happen that way. It's a slow, gradual thing, and all of a sudden, you're there. How did I get here? Just, a little bit here and a little bit there and a little bit there. They don't have this epiphany, if you want to put it that way. It's a gradual thing. So how did you come to believe in Jesus, in Yeshua? It doesn't make any difference. Just the fact that you did. Period. That is the miracle above all miracles. And who do we have to thank for that miracle? The Father. Because he loved the world, and we're part of the world, and he loves us. And I'd like to repeat what my friend Weston says. God loves you. And Yeshua loves you. And if they love you, who do you worry about? Why would you worry about anybody at all other than satisfying him? And he is the one audience for your praise and your worship. The audience of one, I should have said. Okay. Thank you very much for being here today. Father, bless these people. They have come to the place where you have chosen for them today. We have heard some of your words. We understand that you put down in black and white those things that you want us to know about. If it isn't in your word, we don't need to know about it. We'll find out later. I thank you for the truth of your word. Your word is truth, and your Son is truth. Help us to show that truth to the rest of the world. Help us to be your witness, a witness of your grace and your power and your sovereignty. And I thank you in your Son's precious name, Yeshua, the Messiah of Israel. Amen.